following risk measures associated with three stocks, X, Y, and Z? Stock X has a standard deviation of 6% and has a beta of 0.8. So if it has a beta of 0.8, is it more or less risky than the stock market? Less. Stock Y has standard deviation of 25%. Its beta is 2.2%. Stock Z's standard deviation is 17%, and its beta is 2.4%. Stock blank has the most total risk, which is your standard deviation. And stock blank has the highest required rate of return for investors. If you've got a high beta, your expected return comes from what? Your CAPM, which is your risk-free rate plus beta, return of the market minus risk-free rate. Remember that? My students play this, I'll hurt them. I know about Cordell's, I don't know what he teaches anymore.
He does.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's why they're here.
Yeah.
I know.
I know, he's on vacation.
He's on vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's even nicer now.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so what stock has the most total risk? That would be Y. Why? Because it has the highest standard deviation, right? Because remember that from your statistics? If you got your bell curve, that means you could have 25% versus what your required rate of return is, or plus 25%. Yes, I know I have shitty handwriting, you know.
It's a nice
We still love you.
I know you do.
Speak for yourself.
She puts up with you.
I know, she better be.
2 more days.
Not that you're county?
Huh?
Not that you're county?
No, not counting at all.
All right. All right, what stock will have the highest required rate of return? The one, Z, the one with the highest beta. How do you know that? Because you're going to have to put that, how do I know that? Because you're going to have to put that in CAPM, which helps you determine your required rate of return. So for example, Snapchat probably has at least a beta of 2.4, probably 3. That means its required rate of return is a lot more than Starbucks, which is probably a beta of 1, probably less. So those are the type of things that you'll, there's another one underneath regarding WAC. Look for something like this where you have to figure out the NPV, the payback period, and the IRR and the profitability index. Why do I know that? Because the accreditation board has certain things that they look at for all of you as business students at least to say that you know, spit up on a test and then you forget about it unless you're a finance major. So they look at these key questions to make sure that you can understand them and pass them. They actually break it out. They'll go through the exam and they'll take the finance exams, finance majors versus a non-finance, and they'll look at certain questions to see who knows what. That's about all I know. All right, for the next 4 questions, use the following information. A company is considering a capital investment that is estimated to have the following after-tax cash flows. Negative $70,000, $20,000 at T1, $24,000 at T2, $30,000 at T3, and $28,000 at T4. The appropriate required rate of return is 9%. What's the payback period? You just keep subtracting out your cash flows until you get your money back. So in order to do that, I took my initial cash flow is 70,000 minus the 20,000 minus the 24,000. That gives me $26,000 left. That's what I have remaining to cover at year 3. So I take that 26,000 that's remaining, I divide it by my next cash flow, which is the $30,000 at T3. So it takes me 2.87 years to pay this back. Remember, we don't like payback periods. Why? Because it doesn't consider the time value of money, and it doesn't look at any cash flows past that period. Okay, so if you were to do the net present value, all you would do is enter in your cash flows, right, in your calculator. So you do 70,000, cash flow 0. Cash flow 1 is 20,000. Cash flow 2 is 24. Cash flow 3 is 30,000. Cash flow 4 is 28,000. My required rate of return is 9%, interest a year, down arrow key, net present value. Your net present value is $11,550. Are you gonna do the project?
Yes.
Yes. Why? NPV is greater than 0. Then all you do to figure out your internal rate of return, all you have to do is down arrow key, IRR, 15.84%. So we know this. If my IRR, I'm doing concept questions along the way, is greater than my R, what does that mean? My NPV is greater than 0, right? My internal rate of return is greater than my hurdle rate of 9%, so that tells me that my NPV is going to be greater. If you have time, I would actually put the profitability index aside because it takes too long to do. But if you have time, come back to it. What you need to do is you need to discount. You're gonna do the same thing that you did with the payback period, or you could do it this way. Your profitability index is equal to the present value of your future cash flows divided by your initial investment. How do you figure out the present value of your future cash flows? You do everything that I did for the NPV, except you don't do the initial cash flow. So for cash flow 0, put in 0. Then do everything else. The 20,000, the 24,000, then the 30,000, and the 28,000. Gonna discount that at 9%. Do NPV. My present value of my future cash flows is $81,550. Remember what I did? I didn't use my initial cash flow. Divide that by my initial investment of $70,000. My profitability index is 1.17. Am I gonna do the project? Yes, why? Because it's greater than 1. It's another way of looking at NPV.